The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent, yet the silence fell heavy, like a storm waiting to begin. Dozens of alien leaders from across the galaxy were seated in tall, glowing chambers that floated above the center of the room. Each seat belonged to a powerful empire, a proud civilization, or a species that ruled entire star systems. Today's meeting was important because for the first time in many cycles, a new species had been invited to stand among them. Humans from the small blue world called Earth. Many of the alien leaders were curious, but many others were not impressed. To them, humans were still young in the galaxy, a race that had only recently discovered faster than light travel. They had courage and ambition, but compared to ancient empires that were thousands of years old, humans looked small and inexperienced. Whispers moved quietly through the council hall as the delegates watched the human representative walk toward the center platform. Commander Ethan Hale walked with calm steps. His dark uniform carried the silver symbol of the United Earth Alliance. He looked around the massive hall. Strange lights glowed from the walls. The air shimmered with quiet technology. Tall insect-like diplomats, silver-skinned scholars, and towering reptilian generals all watched him carefully, some with curiosity, some with doubt, and some with open dislike, but Ethan did not show fear. His face stayed calm, his posture straight, and his eyes steady. The council moderator began the meeting, the voice of the ancient being echoed across the chamber, welcoming the new species to the galactic community. But even while the speech continued, something unusual was already happening. At the highest seat of the council sat one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy, Queen Lyriel of the Aurelian Empire. The Aurelians were known across many star systems. Their empire controlled dozens of worlds. Their science was advanced. Their diplomacy was respected. And their queen was famous for her intelligence and calm authority. Queen Lyriel rarely showed emotion in public meetings. Her face was usually peaceful and distant, like a quiet star shining far away. But today something was different. As the human commander stood in the center of the chamber, Queen Lyriel kept looking at him, not once or twice, but again and again. Her glowing silver eyes followed him as he listened to the council discussion. At first no one noticed, but slowly some delegates began to whisper, because the queen was not known for staring at anyone during meetings, especially not a new species that had only recently joined galactic travel. The strange moment became even more noticeable when the discussion moved toward human expansion in nearby systems. Several alien leaders began questioning the human presence in shared space. Some spoke politely, but others spoke with clear doubt. They asked if humans were too emotional, too unpredictable, too young to be trusted in important galactic matters. Commander Ethan listened quietly. He did not interrupt anyone. When his turn came to speak, his voice was calm and respectful. He explained that humans were still learning, but they valued cooperation and peace. He spoke with honesty, not arrogance, and that surprised several council members. While he spoke, Queen Lyriel slowly stood from her throne-like seat. The entire chamber noticed immediately, because when the queen moved, the room always paid attention. Her long silver robes flowed softly as she stepped down from the high platform. Her royal guards watched carefully, but said nothing. Then she began walking across the chamber, straight toward the human. The whispers in the council grew louder. This was unusual, extremely unusual. The queen rarely approached delegates during a meeting, especially not someone from a newly arrived species. Ethan finished his statement just as the queen stopped only a few steps away from him. For a moment, the entire chamber went quiet. The lights of the council hall shimmered across the polished floor as hundreds of alien eyes watched the unexpected scene. Queen Lyriel looked at the human commander closely, closer than royal protocol normally allowed. Her expression was calm, but there was something else there, something curious, something uncertain. Ethan remained polite. He gave a respectful nod. Then, like humans often did when greeting someone important, he gently extended his hand and carefully took the queen's hand in a simple gesture of greeting. And that was the moment everything changed. The queen froze, not in anger, not in shock, but in sudden embarrassment. Her body became still as if time had paused around her. Her glowing eyes widened slightly, and a faint color appeared across her usually calm face. Around them, the Galactic Council went completely silent. Alien leaders stared in disbelief, because no one had ever seen the Aurelian Queen react like that before. Even her royal guards looked confused. And in the middle of the great council hall, Commander Ethan Hale slowly realized that something about this simple human gesture had caused a reaction no one in the galaxy expected. If you enjoy stories about humans surprising the galaxy and want to see what happens next, gently remember to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next part of this story, because what happened after this moment would soon change how the entire galaxy looked at humanity. For several long seconds, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council remained completely silent, the kind of silence that felt almost impossible inside a chamber that usually carried the voices of dozens of powerful civilizations. Every eye in the room was fixed on the same strange moment. The human commander still holding the Queen's hand, and the Queen herself standing perfectly still as if something had suddenly taken control of her thoughts. Commander Ethan Hale slowly realized that something was wrong, not dangerous, but unusual. Queen Lyriel was known across the galaxy as a ruler who never lost control of her composure. Her calm presence had guided the Aurelian Empire for decades. Yet now she stood frozen in the center of the council hall, with hundreds of witnesses watching her. Then slowly, very slowly, the Queen pulled her hand back. Her movement was gentle but quick, as if she suddenly remembered where she was. A faint color still rested across her elegant face, and for the briefest moment her glowing silver eyes avoided looking directly at the human. Around the chamber, whispers began to spread like quiet waves moving through water. Some alien leaders leaned toward each other, speaking in low voices. Others activated small translation devices to quietly exchange opinions with their advisors. Confusion and curiosity were quickly turning into suspicion. A tall insect-like diplomat from the Kresh Dominion moved its long antennae nervously and spoke to the council moderator, questioning whether the human representative had used some kind of hidden technology during the greeting. The Kresh were known for their strict belief in mental discipline, and to them emotional reactions like that were often signs of manipulation. Not far away, a reptilian warlord from the Draxian fleets watched Ethan carefully with narrow golden eyes. Draxians respected strength above everything else, and from their point of view, humans were still weak newcomers. The warlord clearly did not like what he had just seen. Several council members began scanning the area with their personal sensors. Small beams of light quietly passed over Ethan's uniform, searching for hidden devices or strange energy signatures. But the sensors detected nothing. No unusual radiation, no psychic emitters, no illegal technology. Commander Ethan Hale simply stood there looking slightly confused. From his perspective, nothing strange had happened. On Earth, a handshake was one of the most normal greetings between two people. It was a sign of respect and trust, something simple and friendly. Yet here in the center of the Galactic Council, it had somehow turned into a moment that shocked an entire room of alien leaders. The council moderator cleared his throat softly, the deep voice echoing through the chamber as he attempted to bring the meeting back to order. But before he could continue, Queen Lyriel raised one elegant hand. Instantly, the hall fell silent again. When the Queen spoke, her voice was calm, smooth, and dignified as always. Yet anyone who listened carefully could hear a very small change in her tone. "The council will continue," she said gently, her silver eyes now focused forward again. "There has been no violation of protocol." The statement was simple, but it carried great authority. No one in the chamber dared challenge the Queen directly. Even the suspicious delegates lowered their voices after hearing her decision. However, the strange atmosphere did not disappear. If anything, it became stronger, because although the Queen had returned to her calm royal posture, something about her behavior remained different. Instead of returning to her high-throned seat, she remained standing on the main floor of the council chamber, only a short distance from the human. Commander Ethan noticed this immediately, but he did not react. He simply continued listening as the meeting moved forward. Discussions about trade routes, defense agreements, and shared research programs filled the air once again, yet many of the delegates were clearly distracted. Every few minutes, someone glanced toward the queen and the human standing not far from each other. Even the queen's own royal guards looked slightly uncomfortable. Aurelian guards were famous for their perfect discipline, tall warriors wearing shining armor that reflected the soft lights of the council hall, but now several of them quietly exchanged uncertain looks. Something about their ruler's reaction had clearly surprised them as well. Nearly 20 minutes passed before the meeting finally moved into a short recess. Soft lights dimmed slightly, and groups of delegates began leaving their seats to speak privately with allies and advisors. The whispers returned immediately. Some diplomats spoke carefully, others spoke with open concern. Rumors began forming within minutes. A group of scholars from the Varelian Union suggested that humans might possess a rare biological trait that affected emotional perception in other species. A trade minister from the Talar Syndicate quietly wondered if humanity had secretly developed a new type of psychological influence technology. Meanwhile, the Draxian warlord simply watched the human with growing interest, as if trying to decide whether Ethan Hale was more dangerous than he first appeared. Commander Ethan himself had stepped near one of the observation windows that looked out toward the endless stars surrounding the station. He crossed his arms thoughtfully, still trying to understand what exactly had happened a few minutes earlier. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. At first, he assumed it was another curious diplomat preparing to question him, but when he turned around, he immediately stood straighter. Queen Lyriel herself had walked across the chamber once again. Her guards remained several steps behind, giving their ruler respectful distance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The queen looked at Ethan carefully, as if studying something rare and difficult to understand. Then finally she spoke in a quieter voice than before. "Commander Hale," she said slowly, "there is something I would like to discuss with you." Her silver eyes held a strange mixture of curiosity and caution. "This matter," she continued, glancing briefly toward the distant council members who were still whispering among themselves, "may be easier to explain somewhere more private." Ethan blinked in surprise. A private conversation with one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy was not something he had expected when he walked into the council chamber that morning. But the real mystery was still waiting to be discovered, because neither Ethan nor the watching diplomats yet understood the true reason behind the Queen's strange reaction. And very soon the entire galaxy would begin asking the same question. What was it about humans that could make the calm and powerful Queen of the Aurelian Empire suddenly lose her composure in front of the Galactic Council? The private observation chamber was unlike any room Ethan had ever seen. A circular space with walls of transparent crystal that offered a breathtaking view of the stars and distant nebulae. The glow of distant galaxies painted the room in soft shades of purple and blue, and the silence of space outside seemed to deepen the tension inside. Queen Lyriel stood near one of the crystal panels, her silver robes shimmering with the faint starlight, yet there was a visible tension in her posture, a subtle nervousness that no one had ever witnessed from the otherwise unshakable ruler of the Aurelian Empire. Ethan Hale remained near the center of the room, careful to maintain respectful distance. Yet curiosity burned in his mind. He had faced threats, alien diplomats, and even interstellar pirates before, but nothing had prepared him for this. The calm, elegant, and impossibly powerful Queen standing before him, still recovering from the strange effect of a simple handshake that had seemed ordinary to him, but had thrown the entire council into astonishment. "Commander Hale," she began, her voice lower now, almost hesitant, "you must understand, what just happened in the council chamber was unexpected." She paused, her glowing silver eyes looking directly at him, filled with a mixture of intrigue and something softer, almost like hesitation. "I have never reacted like that before, not to anyone, not to any species, not to any delegate in my life." Ethan tilted his head slightly, his calm expression reflecting both honesty and genuine curiosity. "Your Majesty, I assure you, it was not intentional. Humans often use gestures of respect. A handshake, a bow, a small touch. They are meant to show trust and goodwill. Nothing more. Did not mean to cause discomfort." The queen took a slow step closer, her movements deliberate and graceful, yet restrained. That is what makes it puzzling, she said, almost to herself. Your hand, your presence, the way you carried yourself. It was not just a gesture, it was energy, a force I could feel, Commander, and it is overwhelming. Ethan frowned slightly, unsure if he had understood her correctly. Energy, Your Majesty? Yes, she replied softly, her voice almost a whisper now. Aurelians are sensitive to emotional currents. We feel them as vibrations, as forces in the air, subtle, almost imperceptible, and we have learned to control our reactions, to remain calm and unshakable. Yet she let the word hang, her silver eyes now looking at her hands. Humans, you are different. Your presence, your calm, your honesty, the courage I felt when you stood in front of the council. It is like a blazing star compared to the dim lights I am used to sensing, and I could not remain composed. Ethan blinked, the weight of her words sinking in. So it wasn't me doing anything special. It was just who I am. Lyriel nodded, a faint color still visible on her cheeks. It is who you are, and what humans carry within them. A strength of spirit, a combination of empathy and courage, something our species rarely encounters. Your honesty resonates with me in a way I cannot fully explain. For a long moment, the two stood silently, the hum of the observation chamber the only sound. Ethan studying the queen's expression, the subtle vulnerability she had shown, and Lyriel watching him with a mixture of fascination and restraint. She had never allowed anyone to see this side of her, and yet here it was raw, unexpected, almost human in itself. Finally, she spoke again. I must confess, Commander, that I have spent decades studying other species, observing their strengths, their weaknesses, their tactics, their logic, and yet I have never encountered a being like you. You're kind. Humans are simple in appearance, yet complex in ways that defy prediction. Your courage, your morality, the calm you exude under scrutiny, it is unlike anything I have ever sensed. Ethan felt a mixture of pride and unease. He had always believed in humanity's potential, in their ability to stand strong even among giants. But to hear such words from one of the most formidable rulers in the galaxy was surreal. He struggled to find words. Your Majesty, I do not know if humans are as extraordinary as you perceive, but I try to do what is right, to face challenges with honesty and courage. That is all. Lyriel's gaze softened, and for the first time, a faint smile appeared on her face, small, almost imperceptible, yet it carried warmth. Perhaps that is enough. Commander, perhaps it is enough that some beings carry integrity and kindness in a galaxy that often rewards cunning, aggression, and calculation. The tension in the room began to ease slightly, yet an unspoken question lingered between them, a mystery that neither fully understood. How could one human, from a small, young world, evoke such a powerful and undeniable response from a queen who had faced centuries of political manipulation, war, and interstellar diplomacy? As the conversation continued, Ethan found himself speaking openly about Earth, its history, its people, their struggles and achievements, telling the queen about the resilience of humanity, the way humans cherish connection, even in the face of immense danger. Lyriel listened intently, her posture relaxed, but her eyes never leaving him, absorbing every word, every nuance, every tone, as if understanding the very essence of what humans represented. Hours seemed to pass unnoticed, and yet the quiet tension remained, for both of them understood that this meeting was not just about words. It was about recognition, a recognition that humans carried something extraordinary, a quality that even the most ancient and advanced civilizations of the galaxy rarely possessed, and the queen, despite her power, could not ignore the truth of it. As their private conversation drew to a close, Lyriel finally spoke with an air of quiet authority. Commander Hale, what I have felt today, what you represent, it may alter the perceptions of this council. It may even change the future of the galaxy. I will need to consider carefully how to proceed, but know this. Your presence has left a mark that no one here, including myself, will forget. Ethan nodded, feeling both honored and aware of the responsibility now resting upon him. He had entered the Galactic Council as a representative of a young and underestimated species. Yet he now realized that humanity's influence might extend far beyond what anyone had imagined. The private chamber remained silent for a few more moments, filled with the faint hum of the observation station and the unspoken understanding between human and queen, a bond born not of politics or power, but of respect, courage, and a deep, undeniable truth. And as Ethan left the chamber, guided by the Queen's guards, he could feel the weight of the galaxy's attention slowly shifting, because somewhere, deep in the heart of the Aurelian Empire, the Queen's reaction to humanity's simple but profound nature had sparked a chain of curiosity and wonder that would ripple through the stars, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The corridors of the Galactic Council station were alive with whispers. Though the meeting had ended hours ago, the story of what had occurred between Commander Ethan Hale and Queen Lyriel spread like a silent wildfire. Alien delegates hurried to convey their reports to their home empires, some with fascination, others with unease, and a few with fear, for in all recorded history, no human had ever caused such a reaction from one of the galaxy's most formidable rulers. Even the most powerful diplomats struggled to understand what they had witnessed. The Kresh Dominion's ambassador, with her segmented limbs twitching nervously, convened a secret meeting with her advisors, muttering about possible psychological influence or hidden technology. The Draxian warlord, eyes narrowed to slits, sent encrypted messages to his fleets warning them to monitor humanity closely, while members of the Talar Syndicate debated whether this event was a threat or an opportunity, each faction interpreting the Queen's unusual reaction in a way that suited their political ambitions. Back in the private chambers of the Aurelian Empire, Queen Lyriel paced slowly, her silver robes flowing with each step. Her usually perfect composure was strained as she considered the implications. A simple human handshake had exposed vulnerabilities she had never known existed within herself, but it also revealed the extraordinary potential of a species she had previously underestimated. She understood that showing any favoritism toward humanity could ignite both admiration and envy among the Council, yet she could not ignore the truth she felt deep inside. Meanwhile, Commander Ethan returned to the human delegation's temporary quarters, but the usual pride and confidence he carried were replaced by a growing tension. He could sense the political currents swirling through the galaxy. Even those who had not witnessed the meeting could feel the shockwaves. Messages from alien envoys arrived at rapid intervals, some demanding explanations, others requesting secret meetings to gauge the intentions of the humans, and one encrypted transmission simply: read, do not trust the human. Their kind is unpredictable and dangerous. The rumors escalated quickly, some factions accusing humanity of using subtle manipulation, claiming that Ethan's calm demeanor and unwavering honesty were nothing but a carefully crafted tool to sway the Queen. They whispered that humans had ancient secrets, technologies hidden from the Council, that allowed them to influence even the strongest minds. Others argued that the Queen herself had lost control, that her reaction was a failure of judgment unworthy of her station, and both narratives circulated freely, gaining believers with every retelling. Within the Council, tension reached its peak when a coalition of elder species formally demanded a review of humanity's role in galactic affairs, calling for an official investigation into their intentions. The human is a variable that cannot be ignored, one elder ambassador declared in a tone that reverberated through the chamber. We have seen nothing like this in thousands of cycles, and we must ensure that our empires remain secure. The declaration sent shivers through lesser delegates, each wondering what capabilities humanity might secretly possess, capabilities that had, in the span of a single handshake, unsettled the entire room. Queen Lyriel, aware of the political storm brewing around her, remained calm but resolute. She understood that acknowledging her own reaction publicly could be dangerous, that it might give fuel to those who wished to suppress humanity's growing influence. Yet she also recognized that she could not deny what she had felt. The truth was too compelling to ignore, and her curiosity about humans had only deepened. even as her advisors cautioned her to proceed with extreme caution. A secret council within the council formed, composed of those who sought to challenge humanity. They monitored every transmission from the human quarters, analyzed every report from the council meeting, and debated in whispers whether Ethan's calmness was a sign of hidden power or if it was simply human naivety that had momentarily disarmed even the Queen. Some of the more cautious voices warned that underestimating humans could lead to disastrous consequences, while others insisted that the species' inexperience made them easy to control. But within the Aurelian Empire itself, Queen Lyriel quietly gathered her inner advisors, those she trusted most, and spoke of the extraordinary nature of humanity, explaining how Ethan's courage, honesty, and emotional presence had revealed a new way of measuring strength in the galaxy, one that was not based on fleets, technology, or political cunning, but on integrity, empathy, and character, a concept that many alien species had never fully comprehended. And yet, it was this very idea that was beginning to challenge centuries of tradition. As the political tension escalated, Ethan found himself at the center of a silent storm, with alien factions debating his worth and his intentions. Every movement he made, every word he spoke, was now scrutinized, and some even went so far as to suggest that humanity should be restricted or monitored closely until the Council could determine their true capabilities. Whispers of conspiracies began to circulate. Rumors of secret alliances, hidden technology, and even unproven experiments, each story more dramatic than the last, fueling the fear and fascination surrounding him. Through it all, Ethan remained calm, though inside, he felt the weight of the galaxy pressing upon him. He knew that his actions in the coming days could define humanity's role among the stars, that a single mistake might confirm the fears of thousands of alien civilizations, and that every gesture, every word, every decision would be analyzed with relentless scrutiny. Yet he also felt a growing sense of purpose, because he understood that the true measure of humanity was not in domination, but in courage, honesty, and the ability to stand tall in the face of suspicion and hostility. The stage was set for conflict, intrigue, and revelation. And though the council chambers had emptied for now, the echoes of the human handshake would linger in every mind, every whisper, and every hidden message transmitted across the galaxy. As political rivals began to plot, allies began to take sides, and Queen Lyriel prepared herself to confront not only her own unexpected emotions, but the possibility that the future of interstellar diplomacy had just been irrevocably changed by a single human. And deep in the shadows, unseen by both human and queen, a rival faction secretly recorded the entire encounter, ensuring that every detail of the private moments, every subtle glance, every unspoken word would soon become a tool, a weapon, or a source of leverage in the dangerous and rising storm that was beginning to engulf the galaxy. The day had begun like any other within the vast corridors of the Galactic Council station, yet an undercurrent of tension rippled through the air. Whispers of suspicion and hidden agendas still lingered from the previous days. Commander Ethan Hale moved through the polished halls with quiet vigilance, sensing that the galaxy's eyes were upon him, even as he attempted to focus on the ongoing diplomatic activities. He could not ignore the subtle shifts in atmosphere, the tight glances exchanged by alien diplomats, the way some emissaries seemed to avoid direct contact. It was clear that the rumors and fears had not yet dissipated. Queen Lyriel had called for a ceremonial gathering to celebrate the signing of a minor interstellar trade agreement, a display meant to show unity among the galaxy's leading species. Yet the grandeur of the event masked the lurking danger that had been silently orchestrated behind the scenes. Shadowy operatives from rival factions had infiltrated the station under the guise of official guests, their presence unnoticed, their intentions deadly. They had spent days observing the Queen, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and that moment had now arrived. The council hall shimmered with holographic displays and floating lights. Dignitaries from countless worlds gathered to witness the historic event, while Ethan remained close to the Queen, offering the calm reassurance that humans were known for. Yet inside, he felt a prickling sensation, a subtle warning that something was amiss. His instincts, honed through years of training and exposure to dangerous situations, were telling him that this was no ordinary gathering, that beneath the formal smiles and courteous gestures, a storm was silently brewing. Suddenly, a subtle movement at the far end of the hall caught Ethan's attention, almost imperceptible at first, but his senses were sharp. He noticed a figure moving against the flow of the crowd, cloaked in shadows, carrying a device that glimmered faintly under the soft council lights. His pulse quickened. A silent alarm echoed through his mind, and he realized instantly that this was no ordinary visitor. This was an assassin, one trained to strike with precision and deadly intent, and their target was unmistakable, the queen herself. Without hesitation, Ethan surged forward, weaving between the astonished delegates with fluid, precise movements, his eyes fixed on the assassin, calculating every step, every possible path the attacker might take. The crowd barely had time to react before a blinding flash of motion streaked across the chamber. The assassin lunged toward Queen Lyriel with a blade that seemed to shimmer with energy, but Ethan was faster, reaching the queen's side in a heartbeat, placing his body between her and the deadly strike, feeling the pulse of danger and the weight of responsibility converge in a single moment. The Queen's guards reacted almost immediately, yet even their legendary speed was matched by the swiftness of the human. His hand shot out, knocking the weapon aside with a strength and precision that startled everyone watching. The blade clanged against the metallic floor, sparks flying as alien dignitaries gasped in shock. The assassin stumbled back, momentarily caught off guard by the unexpected interference. And Ethan's eyes never left the target, calculating, ready, and unflinching. The crowd erupted in chaos, holographic displays flickering as panic spread. Dignitaries ducked for cover. The queen herself froze for a split second, her usual poise shaken. Yet she quickly recovered, eyes wide, yet calm now, because she understood that the human standing in front of her had become more than a mere representative. He had become a shield, a protector, a force willing to put himself in mortal danger without hesitation. And that revelation struck her with a profound sense of awe. The assassin recovered, lunging again, this time using a rapid strike aimed at bypassing Ethan's guard. But the human anticipated every movement, moving with an agility and focus that defied the assassin's expectations. The metallic echo of their clash rang through the chamber, the alien delegates watching in a mixture of fear and disbelief, some reaching for defensive protocols, others attempting to call for reinforcements. Yet none of them had the presence of mind that Ethan displayed. His focus absolute, his intention clear, protect the queen at all costs. In the midst of the battle, Queen Lyriel felt something shift within her. The moment of embarrassment from the council meeting now replaced by deep respect and awe. This human, this fragile-looking creature from a distant world, carried a strength that transcended physical ability. It was instinct, courage, and an unwavering moral compass. The way he moved, the way he acted without hesitation. It was a quality the queen had long admired in theory, but had rarely witnessed in practice, and now she saw it alive and undeniable. Finally, with a final calculated move, Ethan disarmed the assassin completely, knocking the weapon from their grasp and pinning them with a firm but controlled grip. The room fell silent once again, the echo of combat fading. All eyes now on the human who had just prevented a tragedy that could have altered the course of galactic diplomacy. The council members looked at each other, astonished, some murmuring quietly, others openly praising the skill and bravery displayed, but no one doubted what they had just witnessed. The queen stepped closer to Ethan, her silver robe shimmering, and for the first time in the galaxy's history, she publicly acknowledged her trust in a human, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of relief, admiration, and something deeper. She understood now that humanity possessed qualities that could not be measured by technology, fleets, or age. Courage, instinct, and morality defined their strength. And that realization would echo through the council chambers and beyond. As the assassin was secured and removed from the chamber, whispered conversations erupted among the delegates. Speculations about human potential spread like wildfire, some fearful, some intrigued, but all aware that the simple species from a small blue planet had proven itself capable of feats no one had anticipated. And in the quiet moments after the chaos, Ethan stood beside Queen Lyriel, both aware that this day marked a turning point, not only in their personal relationship, but in humanity's place among the stars. And in the shadows, unseen and silent, rival factions began plotting anew, recording every moment, analyzing every movement, knowing that the events of this day had changed the rules of the game. For now the galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary, something unpredictable, and it all began with a simple human's instinct to act, courage unbounded, and a heart that refused to hesitate even when the fate of the most powerful queen in the galaxy hung in the balance. The aftermath of the attack settled over the council station like a fragile calm after a violent storm. The Grand Hall had been cleared, the delegates had returned to their chambers, yet the echoes of chaos still vibrated in the minds of everyone present. Commander Ethan Hale walked alongside Queen Lyriel through the quieter corridors, the soft hum of the station's systems a steady backdrop, and for the first time, the human felt the full weight of the galaxy's scrutiny. It was not just fear or suspicion anymore. It was unmixed with uncertainty, because a single human had just saved one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy, and that had changed everything. The Queen led him to a private observation deck overlooking the spiral of distant stars, the light reflecting softly across her silver robes. And for a long moment, neither spoke, the silence heavy with unspoken thoughts. Then Lyriel broke it with a voice that was quieter, softer than anyone had ever heard from her in public. "Commander Hale, today you have shown courage, instinct, and decisiveness in a way that few in this galaxy can comprehend," she said slowly, her silver eyes fixed on him. "But what I witnessed, it was more than physical skill. It was the truth of your species, and it terrifies some and inspires others. Yet I must understand it fully." Ethan studied her carefully. The queen who had once frozen in embarrassment now stood beside him, calm but undeniably affected by his presence. "Your Majesty, I have done nothing special," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I acted as any human would when someone is in danger. We do not calculate every action. We do what we feel is right, even when it is dangerous. Even when the odds seem impossible, we choose courage, and sometimes that is enough." Lyriel's eyes softened, the usual imperiousness replaced by curiosity and something deeper, almost humility. "Humans, you are fascinating," she murmured. "In the councils of the galaxy, we measure power in fleets, in technology, in centuries of rule. Strength is calculated, precision is expected, and loyalty is often conditional. Yet you wield an influence that requires no fleets, no ancient knowledge, no force of arms. It is raw and unpredictable, yet undeniable. You act with intention, yet without calculation. You inspire without demanding, and you risk yourself without hesitation. It is astonishing." Ethan shifted slightly, realizing the weight of her words. He had spent his life believing that courage, honesty, and compassion were virtues worth having, but hearing them recognized by one of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy made him pause. "Your Majesty, I cannot claim that humans are perfect or that every human would act as I do, but our species believes in connection, in doing what is right, even when it is dangerous or inconvenient. That is what we are." The Queen stepped closer, the faintest hint of warmth appearing in her demeanor. "I have spent lifetimes observing species, understanding their strengths, weaknesses, and ambitions, yet I have rarely felt anything like what I have felt from you. Your calm, your integrity, your unwavering sense of morality. It radiates from you in a way that is tangible, almost electric," she said, her gaze flickering briefly to the endless stars outside. "When you stood before the assassin today, you did not hesitate. You did not think of political consequence, personal gain, or glory. You acted because it was right, That is humanity's truth. Ethan nodded, sensing that this was not merely a conversation, but a revelation, an understanding being forged between two beings from entirely different worlds. I suppose that is all any of us can hope to do. Stand for what is right, protect those who cannot protect themselves, and trust that our actions matter, he said quietly, yet firmly. It is not power or technology or cunning that defines us. It is choice, courage, and conscience. The Queen fell silent for a long moment, absorbing the meaning of his words, then finally spoke with quiet resolve. The galaxy has long valued strength as conquest, diplomacy as strategy, and influence as manipulation. But humans, you remind me that there is another measure of strength, one I have rarely seen, one that cannot be weaponized or controlled. It is morality, courage, and the willingness to act without expectation of reward. This may change everything. Her voice dropped to a whisper, almost as if confessing to herself rather than to him. For centuries, I have governed with calculation, with foresight, with the understanding that emotion can cloud judgment. Yet you have shown me that courage and honesty are not weaknesses, but forces in themselves. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind, Commander Hale, and in doing so, it has ignored one of the greatest powers imaginable. Ethan felt a mix of awe and weight upon him. He had entered this galaxy as a representative of a young and underestimated species. Yet now he realized that humanity's true power was not measured in fleets, technology, or history, but in the choices each human made, the courage they showed, and the integrity they carried. And that power, subtle yet undeniable, could influence even the strongest and most ancient of civilizations. Lyriel's gaze sharpened, her silver eyes reflecting the distant stars. The Council will resist this truth. They will fear it, and they will challenge it. But you have shown what humans can do. You have proven that they can inspire loyalty, evoke respect, and change minds without force. That is remarkable and dangerous to those who cannot understand it. The human commander felt a chill run down his spine, aware now not only of the responsibilities upon him, but also of the envy, suspicion, and plotting that would follow. Rival factions would seek to suppress or manipulate humanity, yet allies might emerge in unexpected ways, and the delicate balance of interstellar politics had shifted in ways no one could yet predict. Finally, Queen Lyriel spoke with quiet determination. Commander Hale, humanity's truth is now evident to me, and I must act accordingly. Your species has shown a potential that many in this galaxy will not accept willingly. Some will fear you, some will seek to control you, and some may try to destroy you. But know this, I will not forget what I have seen. I will not ignore it. Humans are more than they appear, and I, for one, intend to ensure the galaxy recognizes that. As Ethan listened, he realized that this moment was a turning point, not only in his personal journey, but in the fate of his species. The quiet bond forged between him and the Queen would become the foundation of something greater, a recognition that courage, morality, and humanity's unyielding spirit could influence even the most powerful and ancient beings, and that, in itself, was a truth worth defending at any cost. And far across the galaxy, in hidden chambers and secret communications, whispers of a human's deeds would spread, igniting curiosity, envy, and fear alike, because the true nature of humans had been revealed, and no one, not even the Council, could ever ignore it again. The Council chamber was packed once more, but this time the air was different, tense yet expectant. Whispers still threaded through the alien delegates, but beneath them ran a current of curiosity and awe. For over the past weeks, the events surrounding Commander Ethan Hale had spread across every major empire. The story of the human who had confronted suspicion, defended integrity, and protected the Aurelian Queen had reached even the most distant star systems. And now, all eyes were on the chamber as Queen Lyriel entered, her silver robes catching the ambient light, every step measured, commanding attention without a word. The Council fell silent, the collective murmur of thousands of species fading as the Queen ascended the podium, her glowing eyes sweeping across the delegates, each of them acutely aware that today, history would be made. For this was no ordinary session. This was a gathering meant not only for trade or diplomacy, but to witness a decision that could shift the balance of power across the galaxy. Queen Lyriel's expression was calm, yet there was a spark of something deeper, pride, curiosity, and determination, all intertwined. Delegates of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice resonating through the chamber. We have gathered for centuries to discuss trade, security, and alliances. We have measured power by fleets, by territory, and by cunning. Today, however, I speak of a different measure, one that has revealed itself through an unlikely source. A young species from a small blue world, humans. Her eyes flicked to Commander Ethan Hale, who stood respectfully at the side of the podium, calm, poised, yet aware of the weight of the moment. The murmurs surged again, but this time a few delegates leaned forward, intrigued rather than suspicious, as Lyriel continued. This human, and by extension his species, has demonstrated qualities that cannot be ignored. Courage, honesty, and integrity. Forces that inspire loyalty without command, that create respect without coercion, that can influence entire civilizations not through fear, but through principle. She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle across the chamber. And in that silence, even the most skeptical delegates sensed the truth. Commander Hale has acted where others might hesitate, protected where others might withdraw, and shown that humanity's strength lies not in weapons, technology, or ancient knowledge, but in choice, in moral courage, and in the unwavering willingness to do what is right, even in the face of overwhelming danger. Lyriel said, her voice rising slightly, commanding attention and reverence. And for that reason, I propose a historic alliance between the Aurelian Empire and the human species. An alliance forged not by obligation, not by contracts, but by recognition of their extraordinary nature. Shock rippled through the chamber. Some delegates whispered in disbelief. Others leaned toward their advisors, trying to interpret the implications. For centuries, no species had been granted such recognition so quickly, and certainly no human had ever been considered a peer among the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Yet the Queen's authority was absolute, and her words carried undeniable weight. Ethan Hale felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. His species' future now balanced on the words he had spoken, the actions he had taken, and the respect he had earned. Yet he did not look proud, did not make grand gestures. He simply nodded, the calm presence that had both unsettled and inspired so many throughout the council, now quietly radiating in the very center of the room. Lyriel's gaze softened, and for a moment, her voice dropped to a gentler tone. And let it be known that this recognition is not only political. It is personal. Humans, though new to the stars, carry qualities that remind us of what leadership should feel like, of what true courage looks like, and of what it means to act with honor and principle. She glanced again at Ethan, and for a brief moment, a faint warmth colored her usually silver face, a subtle acknowledgement that went beyond protocol, beyond duty, and into the realm of genuine respect. The council erupted in discussion, some reluctantly, others with excitement. Yet even the most vocal skeptics could not ignore the undeniable truth. Humanity had proven itself, not through fleets, not through conquest, but through its essence, through actions that resonated deeply with those capable of understanding, and through courage and morality that transcended species. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in subtle, but irreversible ways. As the session concluded, Queen Lyriel approached Ethan once more, stepping closer than protocol normally allowed. Yet there was no awkwardness now, only trust and recognition. She extended her hand again, this time with a soft, genuine smile. And for the first time, she did not freeze. She allowed herself to fully acknowledge the bond between them, the acknowledgement of mutual respect and understanding. Ethan took her hand with the same calm dignity as before, The gesture now symbolizing not only personal trust, but a new era of interstellar relations. The council observed silently, and in that moment, a message rippled across the galaxy, one that would be remembered for cycles to come. Humans, underestimated, young, and untested, were a species to be reckoned with, not through aggression, not through cunning, but through the quiet, unstoppable force of morality, courage, and integrity. In the shadows, rival factions grumbled, plotting and whispering, yet even they could not deny the impact. For the Aurelian Queen had spoken, and her judgment carried the weight of centuries. Humanity's place among the stars had been secured, and the future promised alliances, challenges, and discoveries beyond imagination. And as the council chamber emptied and the stars stretched endlessly beyond the observation windows, Ethan Hale and Queen Lyriel stood side by side, a human and a queen, representatives of two worlds, united not by obligation, but by respect, courage, and the undeniable truth that sometimes the smallest species can change the galaxy, and that the greatest power lies not in might or fleets, but in the heart, the mind, and the choices one makes when it truly matters.